Hey everyone, we're here back in a new stream. My name is Jose Sanchez. I'm the director of the Plethora Project, the studio behind Common'hood. I'm the game director, and I will be joining this stream in case you have any questions, any ideas. Basically a session where we can hang out, build some architecture, some shelters, see what the game can do, showcase you some ideas of what you could build within the game. So yeah, say hi if you're around. We'll spend a bit of time just hanging out in Common'hood. So what I'm looking at is, this is kind of a sandbox session that we had started already. This is a construction that would be built on the last session a couple of days ago. One of the things that we've been fixing is in the blueprint viewer. So you can see here we have this design. We can actually go into the blueprint viewer, and we had some issues with the input here. So you can see basically this design, right? So that's working very well. We're adding some additional elements to that. As you can see, that's the design that's here in the back, but we'd added some of these additional wall systems. So we just take a little walk around of what we built so far. We're gonna leave this here. We're gonna try to kind of continue building some new things over this side. So maybe some of you are interested on how the robotics and the automation system is working. I can show you this area here where we have set up some kind of robotic fabrication area. So these robots are actually needing some power. We're gonna just add some generators to the scene. And this is more intended for the story mode, but still within the sandbox they will need some of these materials. So the interesting thing about robots is that they would actually be able to automatically build for you any blueprint. Obviously in the sandbox mode you can actually you have infinite resources and you have infinite blueprints, so you might not need to use the robots. You can see here we have this kind of beer garden table, and if I say load all, it's going to load the materials, and if we press build, it's going to start constructing that, right? So we'll get to see how the robot just starts placing the material. And if we come back a bit later, it will actually continue building this object without us being here. And when it finishes one, it will build another one and another one and so on until it runs out of material. So it's up to us to really be providing that material. In the future, we definitely want to improve a little bit the animation of this, and maybe even changing the materials, because right now it's able to build with multiple materials. Hey Ghosty, let me just enable the, wondering if it would be nice to have the chat as well in the stream. You were just working on a concept. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Definitely ping me if in the Discord channel in case you design something with it. I wanted to go through a little bit of the there was some conversation in the past stream about pivots, right? Maybe building better tools to build some pivots. So I'll definitely try to discuss how pivots are calculated right now, and we can have a conversation about how pivots could be improved in the future. I think I'm gonna always get a little bit more of these materials. Let's see. So as you can see, this robot already finished one table, and it keeps going. It will just keep building that. We could have more than one robot working at the same time. You always have infinite supply of blueprints, so you can always kill one by pressing right click. And within the story, the table, it's a really good blueprint that you get early on that has that sells very well. Like you can actually get a bit of money from selling this table. So just a tip there, in case your economy is running a little bit low. You can always, especially at the moment of the story where you unlock the robot, your economy will start running a lot faster, right? I actually really like what we built here, this kind of little kind of barbecue area. But I'm gonna remove some of these elements here. So we're just stashing these elements. So let's have a brief conversation about pivots, right? Because yeah, I think that it's going to be useful. So if I have this beam, right, we can actually create let's just do it in this area here, because this is kind of the area that we've set up for our components, or this kind of modular units that we can use in different ways. So let's just create, this time we're going to do it right. We're going to start from the bottom right. So the first object you place, well, not the first object you place, the first object that you use in your group is gonna be the pivot. And the trick here is that we need to remember in which direction we're building. So if we build in this direction, right? I mean, this is if we want to have full control over the system, right? We kind of ran into one of the earliest bugs. I think I understand where this occurs, right? So when we're building and the robot finishes its construction, we've been hunting this bug for a while, so actually this is going to be really useful for us. You can see that the robot actually just finished its construction on this chair, and that led it to leave a little artifact. So yeah, I'm gonna take note of that, because we've been seeing reports of these ghost tiles appearing, and we couldn't figure out or replicate what was the case. But as you see me building something here, and somehow that interfering with the construction of the robot, I think that's what triggered it. So we're gonna leave it there. I don't think it's offensive in the sense that it doesn't really stop the game in any way. But we will address that issue in the next patch this week. So I'm actually playing version 1.2.1, which is an upcoming patch that reworks completely the time system. We've been hearing some comments in the forums about issues with time, and we've realized that there's a whole issue in the game currently with timing precision. So we kind of reworked the time system in a way that might, solve a lot of the issues that you're facing. So we're definitely testing this preview build. It's gonna be released early this week, so be attentive for when that drops. But these sessions are good for me to test the build, preview it before we actually make it live to everyone. So hopefully we can improve the game and not really ship those bugs any further. So the conversation we were having is, how do you build having in mind where the pivot will be located, so that the rotation would be easier to rotate the element later, right? So if I start here from the right to the left, I'm going to try to make sure that this corner is where I'm pivoting. So we're going to do a panel of in this direction. and then rotate. There we go. Right? So let's just group this. And it matters when you group things. If I pick this object first, the pivot point is going to be here. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to group starting from this element so that we could actually get this bottom left corner as the pivot, right? So let's just, now we can group in any order, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to call it frame 3. And we successfully grouped that object. So now that we can pick it up, you see that the pivot point of this object is in fact where we intended it, right? Actually, it's not really placing it exactly where we want. Let's just redo that, and this, because you see, it actually depends on the orientation we're using, right? So if I use this orientation, it's different than using this orientation, right? So I think we're definitely gonna make this more explicit as we in future versions of the game. I think it could be confusing. As you see that there's a little bit of details that you might want to pay attention to, right? We're actually getting the same effect here. Let's just try it the other direction. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. We keep getting this same issue here. What we could do is, let's do it in this direction. We're gonna check if there's any global orientation changing the way the pivot is calculated. So we're not getting like a very, it's something we're gonna have to come back to. It seems that we keep on having the same issue over and over again from different angles. We can try it in this orientation. I know this might seem a bit technical initially, but it's just really at the beginning having a conversation and clarity of how this is actually it's working. It could be useful for improving the games, the building system in the game, and make it more intuitive in the future, right? So what I'm wanting to achieve is that we clarify the orientation of the pivot as we go. Nope, we keep on having the orientation be incorrect. Well, we'll come back to this. We'll just build a few things, work with what we have, and then, you know, I'll revise the system. We'll do an update of it, and, you know, bring some corrections for you as we go. I think that we definitely realize it's not super intuitive the way the pivot is being generated, so we'll kind of improve it in future version. So let's build a panel similar to this one. I was thinking if we could create some form of I think this panel that we created here was quite successful. Let's just look at this panel here, right? So this panel was very useful. It was a combination of 3 of those panels sequentially, right? Or actually 6 of, or no, even 4 of them, right? So we went from this one to that one, and this one actually could be rotated quite nicely in this orientation, right? So you could have something along those lines. So let's see what we can build with maybe some corrugated metal. Maybe start creating kind of a metal structure. So we're going to use a similar module. And let's see, I think we have corrugated metal here. So what if we do it in this orientation? Yeah, I kind of like it that way. Like that. Because we can do a wall, as we did in the previous one, where we have some of these panels kind of rotated. There could be some, some interesting kind of variation between them. So let's just group this and see what we get out of the process. So then we have it, we have our metal panel. Let's go and get a few of those from the container. So I'm going to later kill all these blueprints that I've created, but if we want to work with more of these panels, I don't think we'll need so many, but anyway, we'll just take 300 of those. And we can do a similar module to that one, where we do one of these sequentially like that, and we group that. Alternatively, it feels it could be nice to see the metal on the other orientation as well. Just group this one. feel like we're gonna use it on a vertical orientation. Could be nice to have the metal in the other orientation. I don't know what you think. So let's just leave it here as a reference, and we do one with the other orientation as well. I don't know, it's just to have different modules that we could use in different purposes. You know what we could do? I mean, we could group the frame itself first, so that we don't have to redraw the frame every time. As the frame seems to be something that we're kind of keeping pretty consistent every time, right? So I can group. We've got a metal frame base. Right, and then the metal. That's a presentation. I think that's another one of the features that I think we will have to expand upon. The fact that we cannot rotate the orientation. I'm rotating it currently, but it's not really changing the orientation of the texture. And I don't think it matters in which direction I build it. It will always default to that orientation. Okay, so second node, we have that node to consider. And finally, I wanted to like bring forward this material. I don't know if I've been using this one. Kind of more like a chipboard material, like an OSB. So we're facing to another small issue here, which is the precision. Okay, so this is something we're gonna have to group together, because precision, we're not getting the same precision when we group the blueprint. This is a 2x2. This is kind of the smallest you can really get. So we'll address all those issues. I think that the more we use the engine, we're gonna be realizing all the things that we would like to expand and build, right? Like, there we go. And this, I mean, like you might want to work with different modules of different size, right? Like, it's really, we're trying to showcase that the game has a few materials to work with, but it really matters how you can combine things yourself in different ways, right? Like you can see the different materials. We have the shadow kind of coming from above. Let's go and get some copies of those materials, and we can start really building something. I think we've been just spending quite a bit of time on building some new blocks, but not necessarily in building anything interesting, right? could expand upon this module here. I think we're going to do that. It's just so this is kind of another version of what we built before, but this time we want to see if we can use some different materials to kind of give it a very different expression, right? We really can start thinking of how metal cladding here start giving us And again, one of the things that we were discussing is that I'm a big fan of not making everything match so perfectly, right? So just trying to see how different panels that could be very repetitive initially could start feeling that they have see, we could start expanding in this direction. So I'll be interested to hear if anybody here likes architecture. What kind of architecture do you like? If there's specific kind of references that we can be talking about, I think that those are always kind of useful to come up with an interesting design, right? Like it's just so we're hoping to do in the future as well. You see that while the orientation of the rotation seems to be maintained and something that we recently updated, we wanted to see how can we make this system in such a way that it would remember the way I'm orienting some panels, right? Well, one of the things, when you have a blueprint like this one and you might want to start changing it, you can always go to pressing Control. And you see if you press Control, if you would right click here, you would pack the whole blueprint, but you don't want to do that. You want to press Control and right click and it will break it down. So that means that now you can actually add and remove individual elements, right? So it stops being a blueprint and it becomes a series of elements. So that might become handy. See if we can actually start using this as a second material for the floor if you want some detail like that as well, right? I'm just blocking out some areas of detail that we might want to consider. Again, we're going for something slightly different here. Using these metal panels, now we can actually get rid of some of these panels here. See if we can just see what we're doing, kind of think about it and expand the design in different ways, right? So maybe you didn't participate on the initial stream where we started to building this construction here. So we actually started with these larger blocks, so that made it rather easy to get started. I'm having some kind of issues here with the snapping. So I find this kind of as a beginning of something different, quite an interesting point of departure. I don't want to mix too many of the elements that we built before. Like I really want to try to give it a different theme, but sometimes it's difficult to come up with ideas. There we go. Let's remove this too. See if we could start incorporating a slightly different approach to the floor. Trying to create like corners and spaces that might feel slightly different, a bit more intimate than what we had before. Maybe like thinking of the ground as well as the walls. Right. Also try to expand what we at some point we were like talking about expanding the this construction more in that direction, right? Or we could actually start breaking a little bit this square. It seems that it's already a little bit too similar to what we had before. And let me think. We can. And then the question as well has to do with like what kind of theme are we going to give this construction? You know what? I think we could try to mix a little bit of concrete in the foundation. Maybe we do that. I want to have the idea that maybe there's these kind of pieces of concrete that emerges, maybe some seating arrangements. Just to make the flora a little bit more interesting as well, right? Here in this way we can actually start expanding it quite a bit. One thing that we do a lot is, let's see if we can once you have something like in this direction, you can make the walls in this other orientation, and that becomes a different take on building, right? You can start thinking I like this, but I think that we can go a little bit wider. I mean, we have this block here, so why don't we just take advantage as much as possible of the space that we have available. Maybe somewhere there. I ran out of concrete, that's the problem. Okay, I'm gonna go and get more materials. And I guess, I mean, we do have like a frame that is already a little bit different from what we had before. I think that we could try already to convert it into something different, right? This could be like a different terrace on the back side of it. So we did a kind of a beer garden the first session, or the second session, when we actually started beautifying and kind of it's feeling quite different. I wonder if we would just break a little bit on that side. Maybe I'll regret it, but yeah, give it a sense of, let's just go around and deconstruct it a little bit to see if it makes sense in the design, to add some details like that. Maybe it needs additional, like a metal plate somewhere there. That's gonna be a difficult one to make though. It's a difficult place to reach. But we could try to get up there. We actually do have a staircase module that we can try to use in. Let's see if this works. So we're trying to reach maybe it works. Huh. So we reached this area. So I wanted to kind of add some metal plate here. I'm not even sure if this is the right orientation that we should be going for, or is this the panel that could look quite interesting. So we can change the orientation of the metal. That's kind of, let's see if that works. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's kind of like design detail that makes it feel. Yeah, this staircase certainly doesn't work here, and it's been done a little bit clumsily, but just we're gonna remove it. We're gonna think of it more as a scaffold for getting into the building. Maybe doing some design details here and there, maybe move it around, and then we can remove it, right? Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but it's certainly different from what we had before. I think it's giving it a little bit more modern look to the design. Trying to work with something that starts breaking from what we had earlier. And what we would like to do here, I think that this is kind of a nice area where we can really design some outdoor facility. So let's just go and think a little bit about the different machines and decorations that we have. So we can actually make sense of this space. So first of all, I want to sort my inventory. We could bring a CNC machine. We can I mean, we could definitely try to do an urban farming kind of facility that is kind of very geared towards different forms of farming, aquaculture, for instance. I don't know if we have space to put some of these greenhouses, but those would be nice. Maybe a potting station. And then we could have a few machines, meaning like places where we could actually work, I guess. Composting. Maybe this time around, or we could actually do like a massive kitchen. Like this could be more like a kitchen, our government kitchen station. Maybe do. We're running out of space here. So, you know what I'm gonna get is. Can I get rid of some of this stuff? Bring some of the cactuses and then maybe the bike. I think the bike would actually look quite nice within this space. As well as a different rug. Where's the bike? Huh. Maybe we don't have the bike here, huh? I'm gonna take note of that as well. I think that the decoration should be part of the sandbox. Or maybe I'm not seeing it. Let's just build with what we have, and then we can take note of all these different elements that we might wanna consider. So. We can always open some of these inventories and leave things that we don't need for the time. Maybe even building elements. Although these kind of beer benches could be very useful in this design as well. So we left in this stockpile, we can remember that we left a bunch of stuff there. So those are kind of useful to sometimes store things if you need more space. So let's start with some of the themes, which is going to be like garden, maybe the potting station, maybe the kitchen, and a few kind of decorations here. Let's see what we get out of that, right? So I know that this kitchen station is quite large, right? So we might want to begin with that and see how it fits in the space, or maybe it doesn't fit at all. Like we could add it a little bit on the outside, or maybe we want to, let's just look at it first and then see if we want to just make a platform, complete the platform for it, right? Maybe lift the platform. Let's just do that. Let's just do it right. So I do need the concrete for that. I'm gonna replace this with the concrete. So what we're facing is that this kitchen is massive, so we need a bit more surface. Building. So let's just start here. extra. Something like that. So let's see if we can fit it there now. That seems to be fine. Oh, we're having an issue with the placement UI. There we go. So we do have start building this theme of something like a garden area. And maybe we do want to have additional cooking stations. We could add that here maybe. We can certainly move things around as we go. Let's just build a couple of farming racks. Maybe we have some of those for some of the. We definitely want to have maybe like this farming robot here. I think we're starting to get some of the theme, some of the idea of this space, right? Something that would be like something to do with cooking, something to do with farming, right? Just, I'm gonna delete the chat area here just in order to have a bit more space to display what we're designing, right? So we also want to include maybe areas where we could be composting, a composting station here. Maybe we want to include additional areas of farming on the back. This could be maybe in the back here. And we can use some of these areas here for. So we have this kind of farming station. We might want to have some small cactus elements. It's part of the thing we're going for here. So decoration. We have more farming racks here. So we're definitely not going to build another one of those massive kitchen stations, right? Just go up there and see if we can like place maybe some desk against the wall, like we could just do a few of those. How do those look? Does that make sense? More of a obviously don't like them kind of poking out like that, but yeah, I like that. It's kind of thinking of a space. You could have maybe even some display of. I wish we had some small cactuses here. This could be like pottery station area as well, right? Like we could have an area for pottery. Oops. Is this the other way around? Did we just place it inverted? Let's just see if it makes sense to kind of invert it. Yeah, I think that we got this kind of bug where the placement got a little bit confused. So, but I think this is the right orientation, where this handle should be in this orientation, right? And let's go and see the decorations. Those two have similar coloration, but I think we can bring some hanging plants. I think that that could actually look quite nice. Let's go and see how can we install those. So let's bring some of these hanging plants. Hanging lamp. And anything else? I think we could try that farming robot. I mean, it could be interesting to include some. Let me save what we have. I think we haven't saved. If anything crashes for some reason, I'm gonna be really sad if that happens. So we want to try to play with some of the hanging plants. The hanging lamp. Vegetable chairs, the farming robot. Okay, so hanging plants. We have that one. We have the small one. There we go. So that might get tricky to kind of walk through this page. We actually already blocked this area. So let's just think of maybe, but I like somehow that we could have these plants just giving it a bit of a sense of space. Right, almost as if you were like yeah, cultivating things from the floor, from the roof, right? Some small ones, some larger ones. Might be a bit too saturated, but still interesting, I think. Let's just add, maybe here peripherally, a little bit of this kind of farming robot to give it a sense of to add to the theme of the construction, right? I don't think I can fit that there. I think that downstairs is getting a bit saturated, but yeah, here it looks quite interesting, I think. Really like looking what I'm building and think if what could we be doing differently, right? We're just gonna go with the theme, and then if we don't like it, we can, you know, revisit it in a different way. I think that we're trying to go for this kind of very intensely vegetated theme. And we definitely wanted to remove this staircase here, which was a scaffold for something else, right? So this could be like a good area for adding robotic construction. Let's take a look at what we have. Yeah, I like this. I think that we definitely have to build a very different base the next time, so that we can actually really start making something quite different from what we've been doing. I think that we got a bit stuck on the same general geometry. Like this one was a good start. I think it's given us a lot to work with, but I think that we have done a few moves that make it slightly different. But it hopefully gonna start showing how like a similar construction can really take different directions, right? We did encounter a few issues. Taking note of those so that we could actually go and fix them as soon as possible. It's kind of imperative. I think that these sessions, as much as it's helping us play the game and they're forms of testing in a way, so that we can, whenever we encounter something, we can take note of it and definitely fix it. Yeah. So I'm gonna be saving this. Ghosty, it's good to see you. I look forward to seeing what you're building. If you want to post images, screenshots of that in Discord. It would be great to see your own constructions. At the same time, I'm happy to say to share some save files. Maybe we would have a place where we not only share blueprints but full save files where you can just jump into this area and do some kind of variations of the designs that we're building here. I'm actually taking a few screenshots as we go, just to post them in social media, see what you can what we have been building. And I think that we'll continue this series, kind of building new ideas, new forms of architecture. And let us know what you think. Let us know what if you're enjoying the game, what you would like to see in the game. I think I'm gonna go back and start fixing some of those bugs right away, so that we can actually have a session where we don't really see some of those problems anymore. I'll see you soon. No worries. There's no rush. Go see. We can definitely hang out next time. I can maybe feature some of the designs from the community in the stream as well, to see what it's emerging from what people are building within the game. So I'm gonna leave it here. Thanks again for joining. All my regards. We'll be in touch. We're gonna be doing another stream soon. Thanks.